This is the second video in a series on key terms of the theory of prophylicity. Today I'm going to discuss and define second-order observation. And I will do this in three steps. First, philosophically, second, socially, and third, existentially. Now let's start with a philosophy of second-order observation. As viewers of this channel will know, the concept of second-order observation is central to the theory of Niklas Luhmann. And the simplest definition of it is observing an observer, rather than observing something directly. For Luhmann, this difference between first and second-order observation is huge. He writes, "At the level of first-order observation, we describe facts and objects as existing, in such terms as there is socialization, there is consciousness, there is life, and so forth. The world is presented as if it was just there, in the way in which it is described. So this is to say, there are societies, there are minds, there are bodies, and so forth. And traditional philosophies accordingly came up with all kinds of philosophical theories on metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, and so forth, to get to the facts. But alternatively, and this is how Luhmann builds his theory, we can acknowledge that in society, in the mind, or in biology, quote, everything acquires a modality of being in relation to a reference, an observer, an observing system, end of quote. So we deal with a different sort of being when looking not at something being there, but rather at something being observed by something. The shift from first to second order observation is, for Luhmann, quoting again, a shift from a consciousness of reality to a description of descriptions, end of quote. Basically, Luhmann follows Immanuel Kant's paradigm change in philosophy. Kant had already proposed that instead of dealing with what is just there, philosophy should understand how we're able to make sense of whatever appears to us as being there. Kant wanted to understand reason, the basic structure that produces all meaning of whatever is there or not there. Kant observed reason as an observing system. His term for this approach was transcendental philosophy. Hegel developed Kant's approach. For Hegel, reality is neither simply in itself, that is objective, nor simply for itself, that is subjective, but in and for itself, an und für sich, that is both objective and subjective. We must consider both these moments in relation to one another. So, for Kant, the observing system was reason or Vernunft. Vernunft is static and a priori. For Hegel, the observing system was spirit or Geist. And Geist is dynamic and constantly develops itself through its own observations. For Luhmann, there is a multiplicity of observing systems. Social systems, mental systems, biological systems, and potentially others. They're all autopoietic. They develop and reproduce themselves while observing and influencing one another. I'm not sure if Kant's and Hegel's philosophical shift to second-order observation had any effect on analytic philosophy, but it did have a big impact, not just on Luhmann, but on continental philosophy. Nietzsche, for instance, thought in the mode of second-order observation when criticizing Plato, Christianity, or Kant for that matter. He doesn't simply argue that they are wrong about some facts. He doesn't simply disagree with them in the mode of first-order observation. Instead, he observes them as observers, criticizing not just what they say, but how and why they say what they say and what they don't say. The second-order observation approach characterizes many 20th century thinkers, including Freud, Derrida, and Foucault. They didn't just theorize about what dreams, texts, or history said. They weren't just focused on the message. Instead, they looked at dreams, texts, or history in relation to an observing system, a psychological system, a textual system, a power system, which produces these messages. This approach makes an ontological difference, a difference of being. There are no longer simply dreams, texts, or history as facts or objects. There are observations by and for observers. Psychoanalysis, deconstruction, genealogy, and social systems theory are all second-order observation theories. Now, second, to sociology. In modern society, according to Luhmann, and I think he's right, we did not only switch to theories of second-order observation. Virtually all of society also switched to practices of second-order observation. Luhmann writes, "The perception of what others say or do not say has become the advanced mode of perceiving the world in modern society, in science no less than in the economy, in art as much as in politics." And I think Luhmann is right. In today's society, as he writes, it is no longer necessary to know how the world is as long as we know how it is observed, and as long as we find orientation in second-order observation. Arguably, second-order observation evolved most forcefully in the economy, by the rapid development of financial markets. Back in the 1930s, John Maynard Keynes illustrated the key role of second-order observation in the economy with the example of a new kind of beauty contest. Keynes' beauty contest is not about seeing who is the prettiest, but about seeing who is seen as the prettiest. Keynes writes, "It's not the case of choosing those faces that to the best of one's judgment are really the prettiest, nor even those that average opinion genuinely thinks the prettiest. We have reached the third degree where we devote our intelligences to anticipating what average opinion expects the average opinion to be." And there are some, I believe, who practice the fourth, fifth, and higher degrees. The financial markets create economic value through second-order observation processes, just like Keynes' beauty contest creates beauty value. I discussed more examples of second-order observations in other videos. Here I just want to say, yes, second-order observation has a long history, but its institutionalization in the form of rating, ranking, and reviewing systems is a new thing. For a career as an academic, for instance, you need to be successful in the peer review system. And that's new. And believe it or not, when I was a student, that system didn't exist. The whole digital revolution, the spread of algorithms that influence most of social life today, is a practice of second-order observation. AI is misnamed. It's actually not intelligent in the sense of thinking. How do ChatGPT or DeepSeek work? They calculate probabilities by observing observers. They do not understand any message or any meaning, but they are very good at statistically observing your observations. By observing what and how people observe, not what they think or feel. AI can, for instance, in the form of text generation, reproduce such observations artificially. What is more, it can and does condition your observations. The fact that you are watching this video right now is conditioned by organized, commodified, and digitalized second-order observation. Third, second-order observation has an existential dimension. It's built into the identity technology of prophylicity. In authenticity, we're concerned with Dasein, as Heidegger said, with being there. But in prophylicity, we're concerned with Dastehen, with standing there in the eyes of an observer. We see ourselves as being seen. When shaping our sense of self, we orient ourselves to others, to our general peer, or our scrollmates, as viewer Charlie Abbott suggested we call them. In an existentialism of the 21st century, we need to move beyond Heidegger and understand that there is no simple being there. In order to be there, you need to stand there in the first place. Dasein is dastehen.